Welcome to the Friends of Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, lead fantasy writer and analyst at friendsoffantasybenefits.com. Joining me on this episode is Dave McDonald. How you doing, my friend?
Good. I feel like we just had a pod that lasted about 2 hours that where Nick gave us a lot of information, but there was a lot of words said on that pod.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest. I kind of love recording late at night because Nick just randomly jumps in. So that's always really, really fun. So go back. If you haven't listened to the Tuesday episode, go back and listen to that because Nick jumps in about halfway through and just drops a bunch of knowledge on us, which was highly, I think, beneficial. Gives me a little bit greater perspective on some of those pitchers, and then Ryan Noda.
Ignore everything he said about Ryan Noda. Also, good luck trying to follow along because I couldn't even do it. So,
but today we're going to talk about Pham from the Earth Leagues, and then we'll talk about kind of what's going on in the Earth Leagues as well. And thanks to Derek Boucher of NFBC because he put on the player movement tab the Earth League, so you can actually see the player movement from our little contest, which I think is really cool and really beneficial. Yep. I should actually ask him to add TGFBI to that as well. So
there you go.
But let's jump in. The big get this week. I don't care what league you were in. If Elly De La Cruz was available, someone spent a lot of money to get him. He went for over $500 in my main event league. He went for a ton in the Barf League. What are your thoughts on Elly De La Cruz? Were you in on the massive bidding? And I don't think you were. I was not either, just because I couldn't afford it. But do you think he's going to end up being worth it for those people who spent 50% of their original Pham?
Justin, we've met before, right? Like, you are familiar with my spending style. Mm-hmm. I absolutely didn't have enough money to even just to be a part of it. I threw out $60, $70 bids just to be a part of the history of it. But no, I had zero shot at any Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah, I put a $250 bid on him in a league, and I wasn't even fucking close. I mean.
I saw some $400, $500 bids on him. I think I even saw some in the 600. So
he in the main event, the two of the top four bids were in my main event league.
Wow!
A guy got him for $592, and the backup bid was $587.
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, it was pretty insane. But what do you think? Obviously, the raw talent is there, right? There's a ton of powers. There's speed. We know this. He's also striking out at a 37% clip coming into today, which is, I think, the risk. So are you thinking, what kind of player do you think he ends up being this year?
I mean, I still think he's a must-own everywhere. Obviously the 636 BABIP won't hold up. But, we're also talking about a 27 plate appearance sample. So, 37% K rate, I don't expect to stay at that rate. That's higher than anybody can sustainably be a productive player, I think. I think he'll probably wind up closer to 33%, somewhere in that range. He was at 27% in the minors. Generally, you're looking at, over a 5% plus bump, especially for someone who strikes out a lot. I think 33%, maybe even 34%. I think he could end up at. He reminds me a lot of O'Neal Cruz, and he has the same, he's got that speed, he's got the massive power, and he's just got the hole in the swing too. He's got, contact issues, but I still think he's going to provide value. I mean, he's already got 3 stolen bases. So the thing about these guys is, even if they're not able to help you in average, or even if there's a power outage, if they're still running, they're still providing you some value. Now, will he pay off the $600 price tag and whatnot? I don't know about that, but I understand it. But this isn't the kind of play that I would make. I wouldn't be I would put in a bit of, maybe 250 to 300, something like that. I just think that if you're going to spend that much of your money, it would have to be a really complete player. And I don't know that he is, but I do think that he's a must start everywhere as of right now.
Here's what I will say. If he strikes out at a 33% clip, he's a star. Like, he's an absolute star. Because I think if he strikes out at a 33% clip, he's going to hit a ton of home runs. He's going to steal a ton of bases, and the Reds will keep him up. I think there's risk that he strikes out so much that he ends up back in the minor leagues. And this is because the Reds are actually loaded with talent in the majors and in the minors. Like, I know there's not a ton of elite talent necessarily in the majors, but there's a ton of talent here. And there's still guys they have not brought up in Strand, Novel Marte. Like, there are guys that could come up and take his spot if he strikes out at a 40% clip, which is in the range of outcomes. This idea that I think that, like, oh, he's gonna be the guy he was in the minor leagues and strike out at around a 30% clip. I think there's a lot of risk that he strikes out at a 40% clip and gets sent back down. That being said, I agree with you. I think he's a must own if he's available anywhere in any league. I can't imagine he is after the week he just had. Right. But I think he is the biggest boom or bust kind of player right now in the majors. And I'm here for it. I wish I could have afforded to get him. I didn't even come close though. Like, I mean, there wasn't a single league where it was close for me, unfortunately. No. We talked about Andrew Abbott a little bit with Nick on yesterday's episode. Were you in on the bidding, and what do you see from him kind of moving forward?
Similar. Obviously, he didn't go for as much as Elly, but there was only one or two leagues where I do have him in. I stashed him in some Fantrax leagues, and I think maybe one Yahoo league for free. But when it comes to bidding, I just don't have the money to really be in on him. And he's not the kind of guy that I want to go all in on. Like, there's concerns there. He was dominating in AA. He went up to AAA, and he had, like, overall, it looks good, the overall numbers. But if you look at the game by game, like, he struggled at times. There's walk issues, but more than that, there's home run issues, which really surfaced in AAA, and he pitches in the biggest home run park in baseball. So, there's so many ways that he can get burnt between the homers and the walks. And he's also in 2 starts. I know it's only 2 starts, but he's not striking out guys like he was in the minors. I mean, it's a small sample, but again, Milwaukee and St. Louis are really not great offenses, especially versus lefties. So I don't know. I'm not saying you shouldn't have bid on him, but the people bidding several $100s on him, I don't know if you're going to get the return you're looking for on that investment.
Yeah, I was not in on him pretty much at all. I mean, I made cursory bids, like, $5, $10 type things, like, but I knew I wasn't getting him. He was just on my list, and I knew when I wasn't getting Elly that I wasn't spending a lot of money this week. And Abbott wasn't even my top pitcher that I was going after.
Oh,
he scares me because he's so similar to the other Reds pitchers, which are guys who have pretty good stuff, but they struggle with command and control. And in that park, you cannot struggle with command and control because you're going to get blown up, and those blowoffs take too long to work off. And I'm talking about, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, who have both, shown elite stuff, but also shown that they can get blown the fuck up pretty easily in that ballpark. So I was not in on Abbott. I'm still not in on Abbott. I'm interested to see him as he kind of goes through other, lineups and see, and, can he adjust? Can he, get the command under control and really the control under control? But I was not impressed enough to make any major bids. AJ Smith Shawver was the guy I was more in on Abbott, but again, I wasn't spending nearly enough to end up getting him anywhere. Again, another guy we talked about with Nick, so we don't have to go too deep into him, but what are your thoughts there?
You really want to say Smith Schuster there so badly.
I did. It's really screwing with me.
Yeah. I unlike you, I was actually more in on Abbott than Shawver, but I was not super in on both. Again, like we've seen it with Yuri Perez, even though the surface stats have been there for Yuri Perez, the underlying stats are not great. They're 20 years old, and Smith Shawver, same thing. The Braves are so aggressive in pushing these guys up, and it's the walk rates this year in the minors aren't terrible, but high, 3.8, 3.9 walks per nine. It's just I don't trust the control in the majors, and he's in his first outing he didn't really show a lot of strikeout stuff either. Nick's not super high on him. I don't know. It's a good team. He's pitching for the Braves, so I get that, but overall I wasn't willing to really spend much on him either.
Yeah, the reason I'm more interested in him is because he profiles a guy with better command. And I know he's young. There's going to be hiccups. I'm definitely interested to see what he does this week. But ultimately, I want to bet on a guy who's got a predator command profile. And I think Smith Shawver has that. So that being said, I didn't get him anywhere because I wasn't willing to spend the money. I think there are going to be better pitching prospects or more polished pitching prospects that are going to be coming up here in the next month or so. And if I'm going to spend what remaining fab I do have, I'm going to wait on, Gavin Williams, or if Andrew Painter is healthy, guys like that, got Harrison Kyle Harrison for the Giants, I'll save my money for
really
those
a fan of. You like Harrison? I mean, he's a guy who has big command issues too. I'm
not particularly, but I know I'm going to get strikeouts. He's gonna pitch in a really good park with the Giants. So I can make the argument better for a guy like him than Abbott or Smith Shawver.
Okay.
But I probably won't be in on that bidding either. I'm probably waiting for Gavin Williams, maybe some other guys.
Gavin Williams, I think, is the best starter that's yet to come up, but I think you have to wait for a Bieber trade for that to happen first.
I didn't mention that Corey Abbott got picked up in a number of leagues, but that was clearly a mistake, and I'm sorry. It wasn't me. So
I was very pleased when I heard someone had added Corey Abbott across the board. I immediately said to my friend chat, please God, tell me it wasn't Justin.
No, it was Scott Wagner.
I know who it was. Yeah, and I feel bad.
Which is unfortunate because he's a good player.
He's a good player. Yeah.
I did make a fab mistake, which I did mention on the Sleeper and the Bus earlier today, so I guess I can let you roast me for it too. I put in. I was camping all weekend. I got home. I was exhausted. I literally went and took a nap and then woke up an hour before Fab ran just to get in some cursory bids because I knew I wasn't going to be bidding a ton anyways. Yeah. But I had one league where Tristan McKenzie was available. And in a league, it's my MEQ, so main event qualifier league, where first place, gets a prize, main event entry the next year, and nobody else does. And I'm in, top 3 or 4 there. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go after Tristan McKenzie, put $137 on him. And then I only put like 1 or 2 backup bids, and I didn't really necessarily need a pitcher. And so I put my backup bid for Will Benson. And somehow I guess I hit the waterfall button and got Will Benson for $137. So, that was a little brutal.
So let's say you put in your bid on the first guy, who did you put the bid on?
Tristan McKenzie, who I did not get. Yeah.
So then the second guy, if you put the number in first and then click the next, the waterfall button or whatever, whatever you call the button that adds the guy underneath him,
the plus button,
it will repeat that same price. And now what I do is I add all the guys and then I put the prices in after I've already added them all to the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, usually what I do is after I do all my bids, I go back and I just double check every single bid, especially since the Nick Allen fiasco earlier this year. But I was just so tired, and I was running up against the clock because, like I said, I did it really late. So, I may have screwed myself up.
I will say, whatever. Jake does his fab from the softball bench, and he's never made these errors before. I mean, he does plenty of dumb shit, but not this.
Yeah, well, he's also not podcast in a year and a half, so screw him. Trevor May was another big pickup. I mean, I know he's the closer in Oakland, but I just don't care. Like I just
Nope,
yeah.
don't care. I mean, his walk rate is 7.63 walks per 9 to a 7.04 K per 9. I mean, granted, I think he's going to be better moving forward, but like it's the A's. They're not going to give you enough wins to even matter. I don't care.
Yeah, they just won like 6 of their last 7 or something like that, and that may be the last time they win 6 games all season. So
Exactly.
He got 2 saves out of that. He may not get another 2 saves. And if he does, he probably gets traded at the deadline where he's not going to be a closer anyway. So I'm not playing the game. Corey Julks was a big pickup because Jordan Alvarez got put on the IL with that oblique issue. Julks has kind of played somewhat regularly throughout the season, but now is in line for probably full-time playing time. A guy that I've picked up on a number of occasions already this season, picked him up this week as well. Where are you at on Corey Julks?
I'm really frustrated because before this week, I had him as a sneaky pickup. I was like, what if we pick up Julks for $2? And we ended up getting someone else instead in the main event. And I had like, sometimes you just have that spidey sense. And I was just like, they're tingling. And I'm like, this is a guy who's, in 2022, 31 homers, 22 stolen bases for Julks. This is a guy who's a combo skill set. Those are the guys that you want to find. They're very, very valuable. Those are the kind of guys who can shoot up in value real quick. Did anybody out there know that in 179 plate appearances, Julks has 10 steals right now? I'm so frustrated because I should have added him everywhere for $2 last week, and instead I didn't. And then I got outbid on him this week. And on top of that, I lost Jordan Alvarez in my 2 biggest leagues because I got late draft positions, and that's what was there that I took. So, I've got Jordan Alvarez in 2 leagues that I took late, and now he's probably out, a month with an oblique injury. And I don't have his replacement, who I really, really wanted. So where I am is really frustrated when it comes to Julks, but I very much recommend you guys picking him up.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I said, he's the guy I picked up on a number of occasions. And I think he is going to get a lot of playing time. Mauricio Dubon also will get a fair amount of extra playing time. As well as I'm blanking on the catcher's name, who's DH'd and played first base.
Yainer Diaz.
Thank you. Yainer Diaz will as well. So Yainer Diaz, interesting C2 that could outperform a lot of other C2s that are being rostered in deeper formats right now. Tommy Pham has been hitting the ball well. The question always is, how long will Tommy Pham stay healthy? But he's usually just pretty darn good when he is healthy. He's healthy right now. I picked up Tommy Pham in a couple places. Did you?
Yes, I did pick up Tommy Pham in multiple places, actually. This is an interesting version of Tommy Pham, too. Like, he's hit his max EV this year is higher than it's ever been in his career. Granted, some of this is probably just a hot streak. Hard hit rate is at 51%. Barrel rate is at 17.5%. He's never been anywhere close to that. So probably not sustainable there. But this is another combo skills guy. He's got 6 homers, 6 steals. The biggest problem is that the Mets' schedule for the next couple weeks sucks. But his XBA right now, his expected batting average is 291, while Pham is only hitting 246. So, but he's not striking out a ton, 23.5%. Pham has an 11.5% walk rate. All the metrics look really good. He's hitting the ball hard. He's the launch angle is only 7.2. So you'd like to see him get that up a bit. But, he's hitting 33.7% fly ball rate. And Pham also has a 22% line drive rate. So it's not like he's hitting too many ground balls. I love the profile, and I hope he keeps getting playing time with Pete Alonso. The problem is, they have all these other guys, and I don't know if they're going to bring up Ronnie Mauricio and how that would change things. I don't know why they haven't DFA'd Vogelback yet. I just don't trust the Mets, but it was still worth a pickup to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't trust the Mets either, and so I understand people want to kind of stay away from that, especially because they also signed Luke Voigt to a minor league deal today, which is a little bit scary that they could be bringing him up at some point. I don't. Like, they're blocking Mark Vientos, and when they should be giving him an opportunity to see if he's actually a major leaguer or not. But I don't know. Kerry Carpenter came off the IL. He was picked up in a number of leagues because he had been dropped when he went on the IL. He tends to platoon a little bit, but it is on the strong side, and there is power in this bat. And when he's in the lineup, he's in the middle of this lineup. So, any interest in Kerry Carpenter?
Yeah, I like Kerry Carpenter. Like you said, he's strictly a platoon bat. He's versus righties only. But when the Tigers, in NFBC, when the Tigers are facing, 3 or 4 righties in a half of a week, you can put him in. And he's got legit power. This is a guy who in 2022 hit 36 homers combined between AA, AAA, and the majors. He's always held his own in the majors. In 2022, he had 252. He's at 284 now. Now that's inflated. He's more of like a 250 hitter, but he's got legit power, but he's also not going to crush you in average. So yeah, I like Carpenter.
I do too. I kind of because I was doing my fab so quickly, I didn't really have a chance to kind of like really take a look at what was available, and I kind of wish I hadn't missed out on Carpenter, because I've got a number of teams right now that are like first in the league in runs and RBIs, but a little bit low in power. And Kerry Carpenter is like the perfect fit for that. Yep. A guy who's not going to get a ton of runs and RBIs because the team around him sucks, but he's got power and could get 15 to 20 home runs if he's healthy rest of the way. So that was a little bit of a miss on my part, just because, like I said, tired coming back from camping. Edouard Julien, we did talk about him a little bit in yesterday's episode, but he's coming up to replace Jorge Polanco is on the IL, and he led off in his first 2 games for the Twins. That makes him valuable in most formats. Were you picking up Julien?
Yeah, I did. So in the Super League, I needed a second baseman because I lost Valdez from Boston, and Manuel Valdez. I do have Chris Morel there, but his playing time is sporadic now that he's went on a cold streak and everything. And guys with that profile, they're gonna have cold streaks. So the Twins have so many injury issues that it just feels like Julian's going to be a factor for the rest of the season, honestly. For one, they're saying that Polanco's hamstring injury sounds like it's going to be pretty serious and keep him out, I would say, over a month, I would assume.
Yeah.
The problem with Julien is similar to Elly De La Cruz is, can he keep his K rate down low enough? Now he's at 34.5% right now, but in the minors, the last 2 years, he was at like 10% less than that, like 24.5. So if he can lower that K rate to a more palatable range, then he's okay. But right now, his XBA is 193. He's only hitting 246. So he could really hurt you in the average category. Also, I'm hoping that he starts to run a little bit. He only has 1 steal in 81 plate appearances, but this is a guy who stole 34 bases in 2021 through A and high A. And then in 2022 in AA, he stole 19, and then stole 3 last year in AAA in 170 plate appearances. So I'm hoping with Julien, he's got power. He can run. If he gives you both of those and lowers the K rate, he could be a big-time pickup. I just don't know if he's going to put it together this year or not.
Yeah, the hard part with Julien is his best kind of attribute is not something that's rewarded in traditional 5x5, which is
the
walks. Like, he's so good at walking. Now, if he's leading off most days, that might turn into a lot of runs, because in spite of the fact Minnesota's offense has been very beat up most of the year, like, they can still score a fair amount of runs, and he could score a bunch of those. He's got power, and I can see like a Max Muncy-ish breakout, where Muncy was this guy that we knew could take walks and had power in the bat, but just didn't swing enough. And he learned how to, kind of increase that in-zone swing rate in order to kind of tap into that power. I kind of need to see it, though. I don't know that I believe it. And one of the problems with Julien is he's so bad defensively that becomes a problem. So I'm a little bit more tepid, but I do think he should have been picked up in just about every league. So Kyle Hendricks, he's a guy we talked about with Nick. Anything you wanted to add to what Nick said? I'm not a believer. There's just so much that can go wrong with his profile at this point in his career.
No, I don't know what to think. This is a guy who, we don't really know what to expect from him this year, because he hasn't been right since 2020. So, but up until 2021, this was a guy who routinely gave you like around a 3 ERA or maybe even like the mid threes, but like with a good whip. Like he was really good. Even though he didn't give you the strikeouts, Hendricks was still a very much a quality starter. I'm definitely not holding my breath that he ever gets back to that. I do think that in this pitcher on the waivers climate, you have to take shots on guys like this, even if you're not completely believing in them. If they have, if Hendricks is matching up against the Pirates for a couple starts in a row, yeah, like let's see what he's got. I didn't end up with him anywhere in NFBC. I did pick up a share or two in Fantrax though, so we'll see what happens with Hendricks. My expectations are not high, but it's good to hear from Nick that there is some hope there, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just not buying it. Like, the margins are so small for him to make mistakes because of that velocity.
They always have been, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to take the gamble when the upside is so limited. It's just so limited because he needs the volume in order to make that profile work, and I just don't believe the volume is going to be there for him. So, I'm just completely out on Kyle Hendricks. Which is a bummer because he's a guy I liked in the past. Will Brennan's a guy we talked about last week because I talked about picking him up in a bunch of leagues. He got picked up in a bunch more this week. Yeah. Were you in on Will Brennan?
Yeah, so the thing with Will Brennan was always, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of power. I'm honestly surprised he has 4 homers even in 171 plate appearances because, this is a guy who in 2022 had, 13 homers in like 600 plate appearances. So, yeah, definitely not a lot of power, but he is a good like contact guy. Honestly, right now, 82% contact rate, 89% zone contact rate. I think he can be even better than that. He was consistently like a 300 hitter in the minors. He doesn't strike out, 15% K rate. He also doesn't walk though. So in fantasy, that's actually not bad because you want him to be a little bit more aggressive and whatnot. The main thing though is that he's running. There's 2 things that made me excited about Will Brennan this week, and that's that he's running. He's got 6 steals now. And he also he started versus the last 2 lefties he faced. Now his WRC plus versus lefties is putrid right now. So he would have to improve. He's got a 12 WRC plus versus lefties as of right now.
Is that bad?
It's not ideal, I think, is what we would say. It is only in like 32 plate appearances though. So again, small sample, but anytime he's facing a bunch of lefties, I'm probably sitting Will Brennan. But if he's playing, that does help. So he is interesting to me because they, without Oscar Gonzalez around anymore, they do have Gabriel Arias there, but they seem pretty committed to Will Brennan, and he's a guy I was pretty high on coming into the year. I actually really like Will Brennan's profile. I think he's kind of similar to Stephen Kwan in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Someone asked me today if he was better than Stephen Kwan. I don't think I'm.
No, I would not say that.
I don't think that's close for me, but I do like Will Brennan, especially if you're looking for a batting average. I think he's one of those guys that can really help you.
Yeah, there's not a lot of those guys out there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then we talked about Kenta Maeda at length yesterday, but I had him on the show notes already. Anything you want to add on Kenta Maeda? I still stand by what I say is he shouldn't be in the rotation.
Yeah, so you guys should definitely check out our episode yesterday. Nick Pollock gave his thoughts on Kenta Maeda and Louis Varland and everything. Basically, I have a lot of Louis Varland, so I'm hoping he stays in the rotation, but I do think that it's likely that Kenta Maeda returns, I think, next week to take Varland's spot. It might depend on how Varland does versus the Tigers, too. So hopefully, let's hope Varland just absolutely destroys the Tigers and Maeda does not take his spot. But even if Maeda comes back, I can't buy into him staying healthy.
Yeah, me neither.
That's really what it comes down to for me. He's interesting. Like, I think he's worth putting a couple dollars on as a bid, but he's not someone I'm not like, okay, here we're going to get prime Kenta Maeda back. But like Nick said, he needs to get into the swing of things. It could be, many weeks before we see anything resembling Maeda in his prime again, if we ever see it this year.
Yeah, let him get into the swing of things on someone else's team. Don't. Yeah, I mean, because I think there is a reasonable chance that, like I said on yesterday's episode, that he's just not good anymore. Like I think
Nick
that
didn't
is
like
with
that, so we'll see.
I know he
It's
didn't like it, but I think and Nick may end up being right, but I think there is just a good chance that Nick is wrong and that he is just not good anymore. Like,
it's very possible. It is.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about what's going on in the Earth leagues. I'm sure you're happy. Glarf increased their lead.
Of course. I mean, but we always knew that was going to happen anyways. I mean, I got tagged last week from Matt Cathy, who does a wonderful job with the weekly Earth updates every Monday, and then I retweeted out with some commentary. But he was talking about Glarf doing a nosedive, because if you looked on his chart, it was like, Glarf was kind of going a downward trajectory. But we don't accept any place but first, so we're not going to nosedive out of first place. It's never going to happen. But we do have two guys in the top 8, Matty Wood and Matthew Davis in 5th, and Marty Tallman in 8th. Would love to see Marty up there this year.
Yeah, stealing Matty Wood from us. Poaching our members is what you have done.
I mean, he moved to our region, and you guys couldn't win with them last year anyways.
Yeah, apparently not. So he was really bad, I think, last year, if I remember correctly.
All of Barf was really bad last year. So
he sandbagged us.
Honestly, when I showed him the Glarf title belt, so not only is the overall Earth prize a title belt, but Glarf wanted to do. I put it out to them. What kind of trophy do you guys want? So I created what I call the Great Lakes belt. But they really wanted the idea. They love the idea of the double belt. Like, you win one for the overall and you win one for winning Glarf, which is what I did the first year of Earth. And they loved that idea. So we have a title belt. And when I brought him in to show him at the live draft, Matty fell in love with the title belt. So I think he's super motivated to not only win Glarf, but win the overall so that he can have the double title belt. I honestly think that that's a big deal for him, because he was so excited about that.
He's having a really good year. He's in second place in our auction league from Vegas. And
really good player, though.
Had been in first place. He won the 2020 Barf League, though he still has yet to get his ass tattoo that he was supposed to. He was supposed to get. Yeah. So I don't have I told you that story?
No. What happened?
So during at the draft of the 2020, it was his first year in Barf, and he was talking some shit to me, and said that, and unprompted said that if I beat him in Barf that year, he would get a Justin Mason face tattooed on his ass.
Wow.
And then, of course, the pandemic happens. We'd already drafted. Everything gets shut down, and we made a decision as a league not to redraft. And so he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, listen, can we put this off until 2021?" And I promptly told him, "I don't care. This was your thing. Like, I didn't come up with this." And so he put it off till 2021, in which I beat him in the Barf League. And then he never got the ass tattoo. I don't really care, but I bring it up every time. So,
well, I'm gonna bring this up with him now that I know, because that's a thing.
If he wins Glarf, maybe I will fly out for the Glarf draft and bring a tattoo artist with me.
Oh shit, that would be amazing. I don't love the prospect of seeing Maddie's ass, but I do want to see him get an ass tattoo.
I do as well. I just think it would be funny as hell. So
that would be the worst Mason face of all time, though. By the way, that would be.
It might be. I don't know. There's some pretty bad Mason faces out there, so we'll see. Turf moves into second place. Barf is in third, really on the back of Bad Flip Crazy Toby, who's just been killing it. He's I think 7th overall. So. And then Werf is still in last. I think getting reaccustomed to NFBC rules, apparently. They need to pick it up a little bit. Nerf and Slarf kind of trending downwards, and Surf is in 6th, in spite of having 2 of the top 3 teams.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff there. So, like, I don't know how Surf is that bad, considering the fact that they have two of the top three teams right now, with their which is their commissioner Ryan Ireland, and then Frank Amarante is having a great year this year. So both of them in the top three, and Surf is still sucking. So
and they have another person in the top 15 in Brian Jenner. I think part of the issue is they have well over half of their league outside of the top 100 when we only have 165 teams.
Yeah.
I think it is such a top heavy league that the bottom half is just not pulling their weight.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And yeah, so I don't know if I told you this, but JT told me, or I don't know if it was JT or someone else from WRF, but I've been told by sources in WRF that that they're very highly motivated to beat Glarf this year.
Oh, okay.
They apparently think that we're like, I mean, like, I joke about this, but it's not. I think that they think that NFBC people are elitist or something, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to prove to you that we're every bit as good," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, whatever gets you guys motivated, I love it. You know, I want that competition." I mean, a lot of their thoughts about me aren't true, but whatever. If that gets you motivated, then fine. But I'm disappointed to see them doing as bad as they are. And there's someone in their league named Danny Kugler who has 256 points overall, which is like 100 points less than the team above him. So I'm thinking maybe they have some inactivity going on there, because they have three guys all in the bottom like 8 teams overall. So yeah, I think maybe you need to talk to JT about what we can do to get WRF remotivated.
Which is okay. Never mind. I was like, this team looks like it should be pretty good. For some reason, when I clicked on Kugler's team, it went to my main event team. I was like, that team's pretty good.
Well, it couldn't have gone to your team if it was pretty good. So I
was like that. Well, because I was looking at the offense, and I was like, because his offense only has 63 points in the overall,
yeah,
which is a huge problem. It's the least amount of points of anybody's offense or pitching staff. But for some reason, it's when I click on his team, it is not taking me to his team. So I don't really know.
For a reference, guys, when Justin says he has 63 points overall in the overall, the team in first place with the most hitting points has 700 more points than that. So 63 compared to 760 for Dustin Thomas.
And there is a team in turf with only 88.5 hitting points.
Yeah,
but the third lowest is 147.
Right.
So we're talking almost triple the amount of points like that those bottom teams have in third to last. So like I mean that's my guess is we've got an inactive team. So
I think so too. I'm gonna have to look into that. Now, I will say, seeing Nerf and Slarf on a downward trajectory, that's kind of shocking to me. I thought, Chris Baseball Pods is the commissioner of Nerf, and they were very good last year. And Slarf was honestly one of the better. I think they were one of the best new teams that we got last year too. So I'm kind of surprised to see those two struggling as much as they are.
Well, I mean, when you've got other leagues coming up, improving, other leagues got to go down. So I think maybe that has Barf is in third right now. So someone's got to go down for us to move up. So I think that's probably where we're standing. Let's talk about some of the guys, individual players who are doing really well. Dustin McComas, fantastic season for Dustin McComas. He's third overall in the online championships, on top of being first overall in Barf. A pretty good darn start to the year for him.
Yeah, Dustin is number one in Earth, and he's number one in Tarf. What a nice guy too. One of my favorite people that I met, in person, and then we had him on the pod. Yep. Great guy. Love Dustin. Happy to see his success, and he's dominating too. I mean, he's up by over 90 points in the overall standings over Ryan Ireland in Surf. So Yeah, it's I mean, I don't want to see anybody outside of Glarf members at the top, but at least it's a guy who I can say, okay, he's a good guy. I can appreciate that.
Friend of the show, always
Friend
good
of
to
the
have
show.
a friend of the show on.
Definitely.
Maybe what we should do though is anybody who wins the Earth overall comes on and talks about their overall win, because I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as it's not you.
You're such a dick. You just don't want to see me win anymore. I get it.
Absolutely don't. One, you're not in barf, and two, you've already won. Ryan Ireland and Frank Amarante are the two Surf members that are 2 and 3. Both very good players. Like I said, Ryan is he's the commissioner over at Surf, and Frank, he's a hot take machine on Twitter, but showing that he's a pretty good player as well.
Yeah, you know what else? Because normally Frank, I feel like in other years has not done nearly this well, but him and Kev in our tag team are currently in first, and I think Tony and I are either in second or third. So they're doing well together too. And yeah, him and Kev, I love them both. They're hot take machines though.
Absolutely.
But they're such good dudes. Like they say a lot of shit, but like they don't take anything personally. Like they're just good guys. I like both of them a lot.
I got to hang out with Kev in New York for
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he was a really, really good dude. Fun to
I
hang
like
out
that.
with. So,
Yeah.
He was a little crazy in the auction, but he was still a lot of fun.
Kev has by the way, Kev has a pod called the Operating Table. So if you ever want to
operating room.
Sorry, I meant to say room. The operating room.
The table is in the room, but
yes, the table is in the room. And I said Glarf has 2 in the top 8. You know who else is right outside that is in our third position is Jake Hallisker, who is 18th overall. Jake has been horrible in Earth the first 2 years he played. Just nothing had gone right for him, but this year it's finally coming together for him. So it's good to see that, because I know he's a good player. I just needed to see that. I kept telling him, dude, I need you to step up. And of course, now this year it's me who's not stepping up, but my team's finally starting to take some steps forward. So I'm not going to finish down nearly this low, but it's been a frustrating start to the year for sure.
I do like how you put Glarf 2 in the top 8, but you did not want to mention that Barf has 2 in the top 9.
I honestly didn't notice. I just didn't.
Yeah. Look. So with, like I said, Toby is 7. Howard Bender, who really struggled last year, is 9th overall. So
yeah, he was one of the people who I feel like wasn't even doing anything with this team last year, right?
Yeah, I think I made a big impassioned speech at the draft, and I'll tell you, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I think, I told people, like, it's important that we not only do well, but those of us who aren't doing well keep going, because it has a big effect on who wins the league prize. And I want to win the league prize. So hopefully we can continue to march forward. Who had the most points in week 12?
So, okay, when I put that in the show notes originally, I didn't realize that week 12 was just today, but I clicked on the week. I thought it was last week, and your wife came up at the top, and I was like, "Oh shit, what?" But no, it's just for today. But still, like, that's pretty cool to see. I saw Danielle up at the top. I was like, "Oh, look at that!" All right.
Well, unfortunately, though, that is not actually Danielle. Danielle wasn't able to make the draft because our kid got sick, which seems to be a reoccurring issue. So that's actually Brian Vogel. It just has her team name because she originally was the one who registered for it. So it is Brian. Yeah. And Brian Vogel wasn't able to make it because apparently we picked a weekend where they decided to celebrate the St. Patrick's Day parade a week early for some odd fucking reason. And so Brian Vogel wasn't even able to get there, and turned around and went home and drafted from home. But if you want the answer to who had the best week in week 11, it was Jay Tannehill from Scarf. Who had the best overall week.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
But I like it.
Maybe he'll tweet at us and let us know who he is.
It could very well be someone that we interact with that just don't know who it is.
Exactly. So I did not have a great week, but I didn't have necessarily a bad week. I was 87th. literally right in the middle of the pack last week. And you, there you are, McDonald. You were 46. You had a pretty good week, so rebounding a little bit.
This team
you need to rebound it.
I do, yeah. But I was gonna say, Justin, how long do you think it is before I pass you?
Well, I mean, where are you right now? So currently I'm 133rd overall. I'm 11th or 12th place in my league. 12th place in my league. Things are not going well.
I'm at 149.
Okay. So I mean, here's the thing. My pitching has been an absolute nightmare, but I no longer have Alek Manoah on my team.
Addition by subtraction, baby.
The problem is, outside of Corbin Burns, I no longer have any good pitchers on my team. My rotation is made up of just straight up streamers. And if Yuri Perez does get sent down, I'm going to be in some more pain. So, I'm going to try to make it work. My offense, I think, is good and just underperformed a little bit. But it's going to be some innovative streaming rest of the way. And I don't have a ton of fab because I spent so much money on Nick Allen.
On who?
Nick Allen.
Nick Allen. Yeah, the left-handed pitcher for the A's. Yeah, Nick Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know when you're gonna pass me. I hope you don't. But also, this Barf is my worst team that I have this year.
I mean, obviously, Glarf is by far mine. I'm in the top 3 in every other one of my leagues, and this one I'm in last or second last. Oh, I meant to say too, when we covered Corey Julks in the last pod. Do you know that I tied for him in Glarf and I lost him because the one fucking day of the week that I was not in last was going into Sunday? So that guy got priority over me, even though we tied for the same bid on Julks. He got him over me because of the fact that was the one day that week that I was not in dead last. Unreal. I mean, everything that can go wrong in Glarf has. I started McKenzie his game 2. When he gave up a bunch of runs, and then game 1 when he was amazing, he was still on my bench because I didn't know he was going to be up to start on Sunday. Plus, he was just coming off of a long layoff, so I wasn't expecting him to be great. But and now Charlie Morton, if something's wrong with him, I don't know if you saw, but his velo was way down.
There's been something wrong with Charlie Morton all year.
On Monday night.
Yeah, I wrote an article a month ago saying you should be selling Charlie Morton. I've been screaming from the rooftops that there's a huge regression.
There's no selling in Glarf, dude. It's either
I know. That's the hard part is I can't even take my own advice in a lot of leagues where I'm saying buy low or sell high. Because most of my leagues are NFBC where I can't trade. So
yeah, exactly.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up and go record our Thursday episode?
No, just that. I mean, I really do. I love the Earth Leagues. I love Glarf. It's the regional competition aspect of it is awesome. I hope we just continue to grow and expand. And I'm looking forward to another year of winning for our charity in Glarf. So yeah, I do love seeing you guys competitive this year, though. It bummed me out to see you guys sucking so hard last year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to dethroning you and
I want to see it.
Yeah, taking over that title. You can reach Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD.
Add that D.
You can reach me on Twitter at Mason FWFB. You can email me or the show, friendsoffantasybenefits@gmail.com. Follow Friends of Fantasy Benefits at Fantasy Benefits. Where can people read your work, Dave?
That would be at rotosource.com and where you can find my pitching schedules for this week and next week, and then hopefully the hitting schedules will be on there shortly.
And you can read my work at Fangraphs or at Fantasy Pros and hear me on this podcast and Sleeper in the Bus podcast. That's going to do it for this episode for Dave and myself. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic baseball season.